At the end of those neatly trimmed lawns in New Jersey, there are always shadows the sunlight can never reach. One early morning in the 1980s, local police discovered a body deep in a remote woodland. Strangely, a thin layer of frost still lingered inside the corpse. Forensic examination revealed the victim had actually died 2 years prior. The cause of this bizarre phenomenon was a large commercial freezer turned down to an extremely low temperature. Tonight, accompanied by the gentle glow of a dying fireplace, and this story worth remembering without effort, let us step into the true life of this man. Known as the Iceman, Richard Kuklinski possessed a chilling professional calm. By day, he played the perfect husband and father, hosting backyard barbecues in his New Jersey mansion and chatting about his children's grades. When night fell, he slipped into damp basements, erasing souls who crossed the mafia in the most professional and silent way imaginable. The truth is like a block of ice cast into the deep sea, melting quietly in the dark until every trace of body heat fades away forever. To fully tell this story, we must first face the dividing chasm that defined Richard Kuklinski's fate. To his neighbors, Richard was an almost dull, upstanding man, tall and broad-shouldered, always dressed in crisp shirts, driving an expensive car. His wife Barbara once said Richard was endlessly gentle at home. He would spend entire evenings decorating for Christmas, just to see his children smile. This near-obsessive pursuit of respectability became the strongest bulletproof vest Richard crafted for himself. He never realized that walking the tightrope between two polar lives had long stretched the cord to breaking point. Nights in New Jersey always carried the salty tang of industrial fumes. Beside those empty highways, Richard would sit alone in his car for hours. Beneath the faint glow of the dashboard, he would stare at his calm, steady hands, his most trusted tools, and his only connection to the normal world. He began accepting contracts from major crime families, driven not just by money, but by the absolute sense of control only granted in the moment of deciding another's life or death. To understand his unraveled soul, we must look into Richard Kuklinski's childhood, filled with violence and humiliation. He was born into a Polish-American household ruled by screaming and alcohol. His father's fist was the most indelible memory of his youth. Trapped in that cramped apartment, young Richard learned early that absolute silence and compliance were the only ways to escape pain. This long-term emotional deprivation forged a physiological defense mechanism within him. If you cannot feel pain, you can never be defeated. He witnessed his own brother die at the hands of domestic violence, a tragedy the family deliberately covered up as an accident. This disregard for human dignity became etched into his very core. When he wandered the streets of New York, he learned power was the only language, and indifference his greatest weapon. He whiled away hours in rundown movie theaters, studying the cold decisiveness of cinematic villains, and sharpening his own resolve in solitude. He never understood normal human connection, only survival through deals and lurking in the shadows. This barren logic of the streets destined him to be drawn to the cold. Now let us step into those suffocating moments he called disposal. Richard Kuklinski was no loud, reckless thug. He moved like a precisely calibrated laboratory machine, devoid of all emotion. He pioneered the use of freezers to obscure time of death, evading police detection for nearly 2 decades. After a killing, he would calmly buy a newspaper or stop to pick up fresh bread, as if his hands had never touched death at all. His post-crime psyche was eerily detached. He never dwelled on his victims' fear, viewing them merely as obstacles to be removed. This complete dehumanization stemmed from his ravenous inner craving for security. Eliminate every threat, and you can protect your family. To him, every contract was another brick laid for his fragile illusion of middle-class normalcy. Those frozen souls, trapped amid the roar of compressor motors, became the silent cornerstones beneath his New Jersey mansion. The collapse of the truth began with the one thing he cherished above all else, his family's quiet suspicion. Barbara began to smell an indelible chemical stench on Richard's gentle hands, the sharp corrosive agents used to clean up crime scenes. When an undercover federal agent infiltrated his circle posing as a freelance hitman, Richard's godlike arrogance became his fatal flaw. He grew irritable during his final deal, for he had promised his daughter he would attend her high school graduation dance that night. His desperate clinging to a normal life blinded him to subtle warnings, leading to his arrest in a rain-soaked parking lot. At the moment of capture, Richard's only request was to shield his family in the car from seeing him handcuffed, a ridiculous final grasp at dignity. In later prison interviews, he spoke of murder like a kind elder sharing a story. The warmth of his tone clashing with the brutality of his words sent chills across the world. He finally realized he had thought coldness could seal away his secrets, yet that same coldness had long frozen the last shred of humanity inside him. By the end of the story, the heavy rain over New Jersey has long faded away. Richard Kuklinski passed away from illness in 2006, taking his freezer secrets and the echoes of an era's mafia wars to the grave. His life journey stretched from an abused, stuttering boy to the feared Iceman, woven with twisted affection and corrupted self-discipline. Tonight, as we reflect on this perfect family man, let us set aside the bloody details and the heavy freezers. Remember only this: a man named Richard once clumsily devoted everything to guarding an ordinary love, only to wither away into the abyss. His icy fate remains a cold warning left by the industrial wastelands to a noisy world. The fireplace embers dim, and the stars still glow outside the window. In this moment, let yourself drift into quiet sleep alongside this cold tale. Good night, Richard. Good night, every soul searching for belonging in the dark.